I'm on WESN Content Capital. Before we even start this repatriation and reintegration process, we've already failed, or are we doomed to fail?
You've got to invest in the institutions that you've established to carry out those sorts of core functions.
We now get into the regional updates to give you an understanding of what's happening across our neighboring islands.
We have available a number of films that are worth showing.
So it was day one when the French Revolution started to develop the concept of universal human rights.
What happened this time is unprecedented. It's one of the largest terrorist attacks in history.
Let's welcome Carl to the program. Carl is over there next to himself. Hello, Carl.
Silky anteater or pygmy anteater, and we have two of the three species of anteaters right here.
WESN.
Hello, hello, Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Mark Anthony Peter, and welcome to Season 3 of Breakthrough. I'm so happy to be here. Joining me at the Breakthrough table, as per usual, is my co-host, the wonderful, I don't know any other adjective to describe him because there are so many things to say, Mr. Sean Michael Small. Good morning, Sean.
That was like such a cop-out, you know? And here I now, in theory, I would like to say that I put so much thought into the introductions that I make when I introduce like Mark or Keaton or Karen, but the reality is 99.99999% of it is on the spot, with like the last 0.001%. It's not on the spot because technically it's details that I may have said before. I'm just recycling it in a different way. But with that said, oh come the man, oh come the man. That's the best you could do? That's the best you could do? Big media / music personality, leader of organizations, producer of multiple projects now. You know, like that's the best you got?
I am on television once a week. And not every day, and not every week like you. I take breaks. Big media personality? I don't think so.
Listen. You have to, you know, strive for the goal. You have to fake it till you make it.
I'm just so. Anyway, Sean, how are you?
I am still besides myself. I am still besides myself.
But no,
one would think that an artist would have a greater command of the English language than most of us.
Listen, we were having a conversation off air. I made some changes to my life recently. I am still in very much rest and reflection mode.
You're in Zen.
I
thought he was tired, apparently. Yes, because he went to bed late, but also he is in a constant meditative state, apparently.
Yes. Yesterday was a great day, actually. It was a great day of awareness. I became aware of many, many things, and since then, the load has been lighter, and my body is just like...
Well, here's the question.
Sure.
As an artist, do you think, have you yet to see any impact on your creativity because of this? Because creativity is one of those weird things, right? I think there's two ways to do it. One is just you know, inspirational moments. It could happen anywhere at any time. It could happen in your dreams. It could happen while you're eating, while you're taking a walk, while, you know, a mother is bathing their child, while a guy is walking his dog, while you're sitting on your toilet yourself, you know, contemplating life in the most intimate of ways. And then there is people who have deadlines and they have a creative process, so it's more structured and more planned, not necessarily like mechanical, but still more deliberate. You know, has your restful state for the new year caused you to get any dividends on your creativity?
Not actually, yes, it has. So there are a couple ideas that I'm having, but most of them are developments of ideas that I've had last year. So there's nothing new in particular that has come into my mind. I think the way my brain works, it's very much like if I have to, only when it has started or when it has coming up to begin starting to think about something. So for example, I'll use Breakthrough as an example. Obviously, the beginning of the year, I have to think about what the vision is and what direction we want the show to go in for this new season, right? At the last episode that we had last year, as soon as we wrapped, Breakthrough went out of my mind.
Yes.
Because I'm like, wash his hands. I don't have to think about it anymore. I'll think about it when I have to.
To people in our generation and young, and well, my generation and younger, so it includes your generation, that happens a lot when you do group projects.
Yeah.
Right? And even there was a project that we were doing here in WSN that we did a lot of filming for, and then I did a lot of post-production for, and then it got shelved, and then it got outdated, so we needed to update it.
Right.
But my brain was just like, hold on, guys, I don't want to have to go through that again, because it's one thing to start a project from scratch.
Yeah.
It's another thing to have to then go back to that project and start it from scratch, but you have to be, sometimes it's good to have something to guide you, but sometimes it's more arduous to have to be constrained by whatever that is.
Yes,
But
yes.
you then have to go back and try to figure out, hold on, what was the through line of this thing?
Yeah.
Because if I miss now, all of the updates will be misses.
Yes, so I relate to that. So you, in a question, you mentioned having deadlines and sort of guardrails in terms of your process, right? Creative process. So I was having a conversation with one of my friends recently, and you know, he wanted to do a little bit more composing and stuff like that. So I told him, I don't have any advice for you. All I can say is just start, because for me, when I got composition assignments in UE, they would say it needs to be this many measures, it needs to have this type of chord, it needs to have 5, it needs to have a contrasting section, it needs to have 5 different of these types of chords or something like that. So you knew what you had to put in it. You were told what you had to put in it so that you could just compose it around those
constraints,
things. So
those
that
factors.
was very, very easy for me.
Those parameters, right.
Yes. So I am fine. One of the final assignments was, okay, now that you've done all of these assignments with these guardrails, just compose something now. And I was like, what do you mean?
So I've told you this a long time ago. I have a fiction project which is very personal, not necessarily meant to be commercial. But when I initially started it, I reached a point where no, I need to put more thought into it, because between what I was doing and what I saw, whether it's films, especially with films, television shows, is that when you're not careful with your planning, then you have to change things, you know, kind of retcon things. Like, no, it wasn't actually this, it was that. But you can't change it, because technically what was already shown, what was already published, you're trying to like reverse that kind of like behind the scenes. And that always is one of those things that I hate that, so I didn't want that to happen to me.
Right.
So now I've reached the point where I have revised my starting point multiple times as I got more and more ideas. And I can't commit to things because the enemy of good is perfect.
Yes.
And seeking that.
Early Monday, well, not early, but you know.
Because ironically, again, I have a lot of different things that hits my YouTube feed. One of the things is, I believe a literary professor was basically saying, look, his advice is to just start writing now, right? And to try to write, like before you look to get published, before you look to be a professional, have at least 3 books. because he said that what happens to writers is, and he gave some examples. I can't remember the third one, but two of them was Twilight and Harry Potter.
Okay.
The first book of the author was the first book published.
Right.
And what he explained was, well, what happens is when your first book gets published, you don't know what your process is. So then now you don't know what your voice is. You don't know how to write your voice yet, because this is just your first work, and if it's successful, do you really, and this happens to businesses as well, can you properly analyze why it's successful and then replicate that success? And with writing, it comes down to, obviously you can't write the same exact book and just change the labels, right? So you need to know what the voice is. Remember what I said about my project, you want it to be, the through line to be consistent, right? So he said, well, look, this is why a lot of authors regret their success if their first book is successful, because they did not get to the point of the process where they know how to write for themselves. So when now they have to do follow-ups and they have deadlines, they don't know what the process is.
Yeah.
They don't know how to write in their voice in a deliberate and systemic way so that they could meet a deadline without being stressed out and rushed and potentially putting out subpar work, which has happened not just in writing novels and literature, but also potentially music.
Yeah, music and excuse me, potentially music and also movies. Movies came to mind because having a conversation with another friend last night, I can't remember how we got here, but I made the point, any movie that is to be made from a comic book or a video game, I believe is very unique in its genre, in its movie genre, and has its very unique rules and guidelines that should be followed. And there are a lot of movies that have come out that have been a little bit disappointing in terms of... In terms of not just the storyline, but the actors chosen for these specific roles, and how those actors are able to portray that character effectively, where those of us who are fans of the comic book world, myself included, we know it's you, the actor, but we need to be able to see that character, the same character that we grew up with, so for example, like, I can't picture anybody playing Wolverine except Hugh Jackman.
Right.
I
think there's a better example to that.
Okay.
Whenever I see Chris Evans, there are two Chris Evanses on the silver screen.
Yes.
One is Captain America, and everything else.
And the other one is Johnny Storm.
No, but my point is, like, everything else is the other Chris Evans.
Exactly. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Everything else that he does is the other Chris Evans. And then he has this rule where I'm not saying that he isn't like this in real life, but it is such a very distinct personality that very few, first of all, in literature, there's Captain America, there's Superman, that kind of archetype, it's not easy to do successfully because that Boy Scout is seen as very corny and very bland. But here comes Chris Evans, and I would argue it wasn't just Robert Downey Jr. in those, 10, 20 years of Marvel movies. It was also Chris Evans' performance. That's why the two of them, like, you could trace a storyline that started with two individual movies and then arced throughout, I don't know, like 10 other movies.
And also the fact that on the topic of Chris Evans, the fact that he is able to play two Marvel characters, and we are able to separate the two. Because he did in early Fantastic Four. He did two, there was Fantastic Four 1 and 2, and he was Johnny Storm. And then,
which is very different. He played it very different.
Exactly. And he's somebody that one of my friends brought up in the conversation. Like, she was like, yeah, there's Chris Evans, Johnny Storm, and there's Chris Evans, Captain America. Two different people, and I am fine with that. The problem comes, and so we could honor that and be able to see and be able to the character can come out. The problem comes when the wrong actor for the wrong character and the portrayal of that.
People over 50 might not appreciate this because a lot of comics that we grew up in blew up around the 70s, 80s kind of, right? But, I mean, right now, one of the things is the mistake that is made, especially as, oh, it's for kids, so we can make it lesser quality. We can make it sillier. Whereas, the fact of the matter is, if you're using an IP from the 80s that was for kids in the 80s, the fans of that IP, most of them are going to be anywhere between 30 to 50. So are you really making it for kids? So that's like one of the reasons why I think also, with regards to cinema, they make those mistakes. Because I understand, and then on top of that, they're not even giving a consistent voice of what the project was then, because the people who are doing it, it's so far removed, right? It's a cartoon from the 80s or 90s. This is the 2020s. It's usually not going to be the same producers. Transformers was by Michael Bay. Michael Bay did not produce Hasbro's animated products in the 80s with regards to the cartoons, right? Or the toy line.
Right.
So what's going to happen is it's an interpretation.
Right.
So now that's a whole other level of complication, right? But then when you're not, it's like a double-edged sword. You have to do it for the audience, but the audience changed. And this is one of those things where now you need to, let's go back to your original example, you need to know what your voice and your process is.
Yeah.
Because at some point, one of the other mistakes is that you're stagnant with your work. You have to update the story without being stagnant, but also without changing it to the point where it's unrecognizable.
Yes, so a good example of that, I went to see Moana 2 the other day. In Moana 1, Lin-Manuel Miranda did the music. He didn't do the music for the second one.
Right.
So, but when I watched the second one, I said...
I think I saw your...
Yeah. I said, I thought, while it was different composers,
they got the feel.
They got the feel
of Moana.
Yes, I could still hear their unique. Sound in it.
Right.
But it wasn't too far gone.
Right.
From the original.
Whereas there was another project.
Whereas.
Take a second. Take a breath.
So, The Lion King.
Mufasa.
The Lion King is a great franchise.
Yes.
It is. The music is phenomenal. It is my favorite movie ever.
Which is funny because I've never seen it into its completion.
I've seen Lion King 1, Lion King 2, Lion King 1.5.
I fell asleep in the live action remake.
So I would just like to say, especially when you, and listen, the people who have worked on these projects, they're amazing, they're talented, that sort of thing. But we need to be very careful when, as a fan, as an audience member watching it, I felt as though there are certain things that need sometimes the legacy is so great, and sometimes the product is so great.
Yes.
It's very difficult to be unique in your creativity of any sort of developments or remaking of it.
Yes.
And it could be a little bit disappointing for some people, myself included.
Because it strays too far from what it was to try to be what the vision of the new producer, the new writer.
Now, and this is something that creatives...
new director.
Yeah, and this is something that...
Star Wars.
This is something that creatives get themselves... When you have such a signature style, it's very difficult for you, especially if you're working on something that already exists.
So there's a couple of examples. Some are in cheap science fiction, like Resident Evil, the movie franchise. That was all over the place. But let's go to something that's a bit more critically acclaimed, the Godfather series. Right. All done by the same director. Right. 1 and 2, it's shot in a certain style. It looks old in a good way, like it's a classic movie. In part, it was shot, the first one, I think, in the 70s, right? But then when you get to 3, which was shot in the 90s, right? And it's similar to the last Matrix movie. Now all of a sudden the cinematography looks different, but then also same director, same essential controller, but like something goes off with not all of it, but enough of it. It just doesn't feel quite the same. It doesn't look quite the same. There's a lot of similarities. And part of the problem is the lead actress dropped out at the last minute and was replaced by the director's own daughter, which did not go well, but it wasn't completely his fault. Right. But ultimately, like, when you go from Godfather 1 and 2, which are two of the greatest movies of all time. Godfather 2 might be one of the most critically acclaimed movies of all time, but I prefer 1. Then you go to 3, which was such a letdown. That even when you think you understand your voice, your story, your IP, and the universe of that IP, and the through line of that universe, even then, things could go wrong when you try to update it. And like I said, you know, as more time goes on, it's harder and harder to update things, but keep the necessary things so that the IP feels the same, is recognizable, gives you that same emotional connection, and doesn't feel like some kind of cheap knockoff. Like, I mean, I hate to go to another video game reference, but this first Super Mario Brothers was so hated, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Whereas Christopher Reeve's first Superman movie, as much as it was
Superman.
Super Mario Brothers, the first one, reviled. The first Superman. And look how long ago that was, right? And yet, and the story wasn't that complex. But it evoked in us a sense of awe and wonder, like few things did. And I would argue, like, the emotion of watching that first Superman movie will rival the emotion of watching any good, modern, beloved superhero movie now.
Okay, yes, fair. And that's one of the things that we as creators, we kind of, these are some of the processes that we have to just sort of be involved in. And, you know, the audience likes it sometimes, the audience doesn't like it sometimes.
They can't please everybody.
They can't please everybody, but hopefully we learn. We listen and we learn so that the next product is great. Or we simply say, listen, this is my style and I'm not changing it. I mean,
hopefully when we have a song saying we're ready for the road, we don't use the same footpath in a European country experiencing winter. And,
correct.
And we're ready for the road. Carnival, I guess, you know.
Yeah, in your snow boots.
The through line, we rarely veer off to left and out.
But yes, but we
just wanted to throw a carnival example in.
I know. And it is the season. But yes, so all of those creative things we need to watch out for. But listen, we love our content creators, we love our creatives, all of our artists, and everyone that does the work. And keep in mind that it's a journey for the artists themselves, right? It's something that we go through the processes, we learn, and we evolve as we go through the journey. Hopefully we have people around us that are willing to tell us the truth, not just artists themselves, but non-artists who can look at it from an objective standpoint and are willing to say, listen, this is how I feel about it, and hopefully that creates a better product, all right? On that note, we will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Her voice has mesmerized us for years.
And now, in a rare treat for music fans,
Shakuntala and Friends in concert, featuring Shakuntala Jangbahadur. Singing sensation Deval Chaitlal, brilliant musician Dr. Shivanan Maharaj, master flautist and saxophonist Narendra Maharaj, with music from Shiv Sangeet Orchestra, Shakuntala and Friends in concert.
Shakuntala,
I am Dr. Delphina Ovid, your friendly neighborhood dentist. At Community Hospital Dental Clinic, we offer examinations which include x-rays, basic oral cancer screening, and a treatment plan. We also offer cleanings, fillings, extractions, root canal treatment, and complete and partial dentures. Remember, you don't have to brush and floss all your teeth, just the ones you want to keep.
Give us a call at 235-5479.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Simon's Musical Supplies Limited. We are the specialist in new and used musical instruments, carrying top brands like Yamaha, Pearl River pianos, vinyl and Sabian cymbals, Remo and Evans drumheads and Fender guitars, just to name a few. Also a wide assortment of music books, pan and accessories. At Simon's, we service what we sell. Trust the leader. Call us now at 625-6412 or visit us at 20 Board Street, Port of Spain.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus. Quality you trust, prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
SM Group International Limited, your solutions partner for the latest innovations, brands and competent staff to meet your needs. We provide products and services in the following divisions: executive services, event rental and services, power and heavy equipment, construction and property management, food and beverage, aggregate and sales and distribution. Check out more on our products and services at www.smgrouptt.com. Contact us at 221-7445 or email at info@smgrouptt.com. We are SM Group International, your solutions partner.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we kind of have to stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's being the victim, right, or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement. If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg,
control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put
Why you
forever.
want the chiefs to lose so? Why you want the chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of this game.
no.
Let's go to the last part.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Now you don't need to register nothing. You don't need. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe in different criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
Trinidad and Tobago, and we're back to Breakthrough. Joining us at the Breakthrough table is Dr. Shivanan Maharaj. Good morning. How are you doing?
Hi, good morning.
Nice to have you.
Pleasure to be here.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Yes, same here. And I want to say a special, greetings to our viewers out there.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. You're actually here to talk about a concert that you're producing, right? It's called Shakuntala and Friends in Concert, right? Featuring yourself, Nival Chetlal and Narendra Maharaj, right? As well as the, well, actually, you can speak more about it and tell us about the concert and what people are going to experience there.
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to say that this concert that is going to happen at this coming Saturday on the 1st of February at Sapa, 7 p.m. It's the first of its kind of this nature in the sense that one of our artists in this country, Shakuntala Jang Bahadur, she's studied extensively vocal training in India.
Okay.
And, having been around in the music industry for quite a while, she's comfortable now, and she's decided that she's up for being in concert, so to speak.
Okay.
Right? So this is in itself a unique occurrence in the music industry. There are so many people who have been moved by her singing and her music, and because of her training and her style of a multi-natured range of genres. It's very interesting. It's not only a show, I think, for the public, it's also in one dimension a show for also singers and artists.
Okay.
And quite a lot of them have been, calling in and being interested in actually being there to see her and to hear her in concert. As well as other artists, of course, we'll talk about some of them, but she's going to be featured as she's never been before.
Right. And I think for people who might be interested, some people may not actually be not aware, but have never experienced something like this before. Especially for those who are not familiar with the Indian classical genre of music, especially some people don't even know that happens down here. But it absolutely does, and it's absolutely wonderful. So what would you tell somebody who's absolutely new to it, who come to it, would you tell them just to keep an open mind and to really appreciate what's happening on stage? What would you encourage them to do?
What I would say is that it's interesting that you use the term Indian classical music. And of course, when one goes and studies music, whether it be an instrumental degree or it's a vocal degree, etc., there's a lot of technique and theory and practical work involved.
Right.
Yes, that's given. But what I want to say is that This concert is heavily based on Bollywood music.
Okay.
But it's going to have a lot of classical influences into the Bollywood music. So it's going to be done in a little, in a twist, if you want to say it that way, with a very unique twist in that way. With all these artists who are on the cast, they're actually very much trained in music as well. So they're able to handle quite a lot and also step out of the the fixed composition that way.
All right. And who would, what are some of the, I'm assuming musicians will be joining you?
Yes, we have joining us, apart from Shakuntala Jangbahadur, we have the versatile Nival Chetlal, right? He's going to be there with us doing, magical pieces with his voice. He's also very much multi-talented in the range of genres that he will be, he's been known for. Myself will be there as well to do some vocal items as well as instrumentals on the violin. My brother Narendra Maharaj, he's very, very well established in the saxophone as well as what we call the bassuri or the Indian bamboo flute. So he's going to be doing quite a lot of that. We are also joined by another vocalist, Abhijit Ankatesu. All right, he's going to be, Abhijit is going to be there, as well as the Prema Shakti dance group. And also I want to specially mention that, accompanying these artists are going to be a special group of musicians led by the versatile Rishi Gayadin from the RG band. Okay. So we have quite a lot of entertainment in store. Very exciting lineup of songs and music, dance also from the cast. So we're looking forward.
Okay. So are all the pieces going to be accompanied by this band with live music?
Not all.
Yes.
Most of them are going to be, and then some of them are actually going to be solos, and we're doing some unique stuff and also incorporating dance while some of the songs and the music is also going on. So we're hoping to have quite a lot of variety when it comes to the stage performances.
Okay, now you mentioned earlier the training of the training level of the musicians and all of the singers there. What does that, for someone who is not aware, what does that sort of training, getting to that level of training, entail? You did mention that Shakuntala, she's been training in India for a very long time, and she's finally ready to do things in concert. So all of these people that you have performing in this concert, give us an idea of what it takes to be not just trained in music in general, but in this style of music, the Bollywood and the Indian classical.
Well, I would say, it takes quite a lot of effort. It takes determination. It takes hours and hours of practice, as you all would know, right? It takes quite a lot of determination to be able to do what we call riyaz, which is practice, but for hours, day after day, when you are actually in training. Now, actually, as artists, we are never really out of training. Yes. We are always training, right? But in that particular part of one's life, they would really concentrate on, on getting their degree finished, let's say, for example, right? So it will take a concentrated amount of effort there. And there's where all of the, the variety of rhythmic elements and melodic elements, what we know as the ragas or tals and all of these things are going to be properly studied. And, of course, yes, examinations will come and so on. But at the end of it all, what does it really translate, for the artist? With he or she, they're going to be much more comfortable in going to a stage and attempting any type of genre. Because of the training now, they're going to be having that confidence to be able to put that piece out and also give it their own twist with that training so that the elements will be able to create even further excitement in that piece.
Well, I am curious to know, because you said, you all are going to incorporate dance groups with the music. You have a backup band for those elements that aren't solos. Yes. How hard has it been? Because usually with concerts, sometimes producers might say, well, we'll get this act and they'll go now. And that is one act, right? And another act. And you don't necessarily kind of bring various groups together to do joint things. And I assume, some of these performances, if you want to include dancers that haven't necessarily been included and incorporated in certain ways, you have to get dancers who don't normally do it with these singers, with these musicians. Bringing the cast together now, it's not like they could all go and rehearse on their own and that's that. Yes. You all have to come together now and build something that is not normal for their wheelhouse or their repertoire. Yes. Has that been challenging? Or has it been enjoyable for you?
Well, it's a very interesting thing that you brought up there, because what it centers around really is what we call building connections. Right? We are building connections among the groups. As you are rightly saying, that it's not an everyday affair that, these particular musicians and dancers and singers actually always, you know, get together in this way regularly. But in this particular case, they've all, you know, been very cooperative, and it works very well because of their training. Of course, they are very, very able and apt to be able to work together.
I also want to ask now. You're putting on, I guess, what's say a more traditional concert, even though, yes, you say it's Bollywood pieces, but I would argue cinema is right now one of the bastions of classical styles of music, whether European classical or in the case of Bollywood, Indian cultural music. But I have to ask though, Carnival is right around the corner. Was there any concern that the timing of an event like this might clash with this ongoing juggernaut in our society known as Carnival?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because
the description.
Yeah, because this period of the year is actually very busy with so many activities.
Yes.
But my answer is simply no. We have not been at all, you know, concerned really about that, because this is actually a different kind of blend of music. It's a different kind of concert, and yes, there are many other concerts going on, and so that they all have their own flair and musicality of it. But in this particular one, you are going to be entertained by really wonderful singers and dancers, musicians, who are going to be doing justice, I would say, to the Bollywood styles with a little difference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Well, that leads me to, I guess, another question. If there was a recent comment was made about chutney soca being harmful to East Indian culture. Do you have any concerns, not necessarily to speak to it necessarily directly, but do you have any concerns in regards to the local East Indian culture, the practice of the various art forms? I would argue that East Indian culture might be the most well-practiced cultural art form as opposed to any of the other backgrounds of our racial demographic. There's so much holes, whereas with East Indian culture, to me, it in a way, it shines through as one of the really connected set of art forms from the traditional homeland.
Yes, well, what I would like to say in relation to what you brought up there is that, again, it comes back to the fact that if we want to make our craft or art, you know, something that is marketable not only locally but to be enjoyed internationally, we have to appreciate that training is important. Yes, talent will reach us up to a point, but talent mixed with the training, it's going to be, you know, a bumper combination. So I would like to say, you know, based on what you're saying, with some of these, with the coming up of the Soca Monarch or even Soca Chutney competitions and all of that, everyone who is involved, you know, we of course wish them all the best. But I think a good idea is to always keep training and developing your art from one stage to the next.
Yes.
That's what I would like to say.
That makes sense, because we were, in the conversation that we were having before the break, we were talking about artists and their creative process. And even though your creative process, as it develops, it's unique to you, you must always keep updating it and progressing. What I would like to ask, though, in terms of, now Sean would have mentioned bringing everything together. One of the points that you made is people will still come because it's something that they will enjoy. It's something that they look forward to. And for people who want to see what it's like, they will come to that. What has the journey been like from the minute the thought came into your head to do this to now? What has that process and that journey been like, if you can describe it for me?
Yes, I could describe it, because I would say in one word, phenomenal. Because just the thought of having something that is unique for a long time in the music industry, well, specifically the Indian music industry in the country, but it's not limited to that, because there are many times some of the interpretations of the song are done and other non-traditional Indian instruments or even non-traditional genres may step in, right? So it's something that is very all-encompassing. But yes, since the inception to now, we've been getting a lot of positive energies around, because it's something that I think people have been looking for for a very long time.
Right.
A very, very long time. So we're very optimistic, and because of the response so far, I would say that it's really shaping up to be a wonderful event. Bollywood music with a little difference.
With influence of
with
the
these
classical.
with these amazing artists.
Right. And to those who, like, what sort of instruments are going to be involved in this? Because you mentioned orchestras, so obviously I immediately think strings. Strings, they have some wood, but winds, maybe other instruments, but what sort of specific instruments happen? You mentioned the bamboo flute.
Yes.
What other sort of specific instruments to the cultures are going to be there?
Well, we're going to, of course, on the side of the drumming or the percussions, we're going to have a range of percussions, including the tabla, which is a really multi-tonal instrument to suit various styles. You're going to have the tabla, we're going to have dolak, we will have three-piece drum kit, the whole works of when we talk about rhythm. On the melodic side, of course, all these other instruments, guitars, keyboards, etc. Also the violin, we have the bamboo flute, and we have some other stringed instruments such as the sitar and some of these others. So it's quite a mix of instruments coming together to give us that unique blend for this Bollywood production.
So it's not just traditional instruments.
No,
you
it's
all
not.
Going to be coming in with,
yes.
And of course, that's going to provide some uniqueness because there will be an interpretation of what should a violin sound like with traditional East Indian cultural pieces.
Yes, exactly. If you would really observe carefully, lots of these instruments are used actually in producing music of Bollywood. So we are trying to, to some extent maintain some of it, but yet still add some more so that it becomes a little varied.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Now, in terms of just sort of veering off the concept just for a little bit, but where do you see personally, because you're highly educated, you're trained well, where do you see the music going into, where do you see the future of Indian classical music, that blend of Indian classical music, Bollywood, even the chutney soca, even chutney music in general, where do you see that going, or how do you think we can develop that for the future in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, first of all, I see that it is the various areas of what you've mentioned. I think there is a positive future for that. I'm seeing that it is going forward, and we can expect quite a lot from the artists that's driving these various areas in the industry. In terms of how can it get better, of course, I'm always an advocate for education, for training, and it works magic when you look at it. So when you empower yourself with the knowledge, and then you have to just translate it into the practical part of the music. That's where the amazing, productions come.
Right. Okay.
I think when we were speaking about chutney soca, and then you even went on to include soca, and I actually appreciated your answer because I do wonder to what extent we have soca artists, chutney soca artists, they're successful, how much training, how much experience, how much practice do they put into their craft.
Yes.
But they get the success, so they just kind of continue, and they don't necessarily, I guess as an artist, know who they are, what their voice is, what their style is. Yeah. So then, the follow-up could be a hit or miss. Their career is uneven at times. And when you were speaking about the phenomenal experience of putting the show together, I just thought, because this is something that I identified with, new, creative variations, not doing the same old, trying to develop something new, trying to develop something good that other artists are excited about. Do you think this could potentially also be a start of, or like a model where, look, we have certain genres that are unique to us or that we identify with both in East Indian culture and throughout the rest of the cultural aspect of the country. But I wonder if music has been stagnant, and projects like this, where there's that push to, hey, let's not just repeat what's done. Let's not just take the Bollywood song and do it. I'll sing this song, because a lot of concerts locally, it comes down to that. Who will sing My Heart Will Go On from Titanic, and it sounds like Celine Dion, and they think that's the be-all and end-all. As opposed to what you're saying, let's try to be creative, not just replicative. is there any hope that things like this, maybe it starts in the East Indian community, but then it could go further throughout the artist community of the country?
Yes, I believe that very much. It's a really good point that you raised there. As a matter of fact, if we remember, just a few years ago, one of the singers here, Nival Chetlal, he emerged the winner of Chutney Soka Mana at one point in time, and he's very much trained in music. So so it can happen like what you're saying there. The future of it is very bright, and of course the underlying philosophy of all of this, of course, everybody, well, some of us may know that music is ever changing. It never remains the same. So what's new for us now will be, old for the other generations to come, and etc. And what we enjoy. So we have to remember that it's always dynamic, and there's a beauty in that.
Yes.
Right? There's a beauty in that. So again, I'm saying that the Bollywood songs that we are going to enjoy this coming Saturday, it's going to be done, yes, we're going to enjoy it, but it's going to be also done, with a twist, with a change, with innovations.
Yes.
That's what we can expect. So it's not always, as you said, the same old, same old. It's going to be there, but it's going to be enhanced.
Yeah. And
that's what I'm saying.
Yes, and I think one thing that I realized, people appreciate things that are done well.
Yes.
Once it's executed well, it could be a new idea.
Yes.
It could even be the same. But once
these are non-artists, right?
Yes.
They might not be able to identify everything, but if it's done well.
Yes, because something. I mean, this is kind of just saying what the same idea. Being a musician in church, so a lot of people. I remember when all of the contemporary gospel things started to become a trend. A lot of people would do it. In the context of mass and rallies and stuff like that, which is fine. But then it's not done to the standard of which the song itself was done, if that makes sense. So it's a matter of just... It's a matter of executing it well. And I would even say being just... being... like we have a lot of... being Catholic myself, we have a lot of original compositions for the mass setting, for church itself. But even with those, sometimes it's just
taken for granted.
It's taken for granted. But I always say, if you're not doing our own music well, how can you do the music beyond the border as well, right? So coming back to this point of it being executed well, being great performances, because there are those moments where even if the artist is new to you, you know that you'll get a good product. You'll enjoy yourself. So then even if it's something that's new and not within your norm, you know that you are spending this money and you are going to get a good performance.
Yes, correct. I totally agree with what you're saying. And I want to say again that music that is produced or executed with accuracy is always appreciated.
Yes.
It's always, it's always loved. And this is what we hear from time and time. And that is exactly what our patrons can expect on Saturday for this particular program.
But also, I think one of the things that gives music fresh legs, you say it's always moving, right?
Yes.
But it's not just, okay, so like the soca from the 90s, if you play it for kids now, they will look at it and like, it will sound very dated to them, right? Which was a bit of a culture shock for me that one time when I saw that happen in real time. But it's not...
A little Gen Z, Gen Alpha.
But it's not just about that too. Wouldn't you say also that for artists to have longevity, it's not just that you have to get new projects and new work, but also your old work. So they have artists that have stood the test of time. Now, some of them, maybe they just do the same old thing over and over. But I know one of my favorite artists is Sting, and I have seen him do several concerts with some of the stuff he's done in the 80s and 90s, and the reinterpretation aspect keeps it fresh. One time he did a concert, he had no traditional drummer, he had an orchestra with orchestral percussion, no drum set, and it just changed the whole sound of his songs. And perhaps what you're doing here is beginning that path of, listen, we could do the song, but then next year, let's not do the song the same way. Let's do something different. We could do some different songs, some songs that the audience love, not the same way, but a different way, and it keeps it fresh. But then it also gives, not everybody that isn't an artist will fully understand the differences, but to some extent, I think they will feel the changes, and appreciate that, hey, this is still fresh somehow.
Very, very well said. I must say that, because, you know, the reinterpretation of it is something that gives it a new life, a new face to whatever is the genre that you are trying to, you know, to execute. So that is always an important and it's a welcomed change. Right? And again, I want to say that is exactly what's happening in this concert, where we are using quite a lot of the popular pieces, a lot of popular Bollywood well-liked songs, but it's being interpreted, you know, with a lot more fantastic sort of creations, we will say, and interpretations and innovation. That's what you can look out for. So, yeah.
So we've spoken about what you can get at the concert, but can you tell us how we can get tickets? What are the costs of tickets? All of those things.
Yes, of course. Now, I want to say that, you know, SAPA, the Southern Academy for the Performing Arts in San Fernando, it's a venue that is par excellence when it comes to the, you know, the ambience, etc. for productions like these. But it's limited seating.
Yes.
So I want to say that, you know, we have just a limited number of VIP tickets at $350, and it's general
price at all.
Yeah, and general is $250. Yeah. So you can get your tickets in the next couple of days. Those of us who haven't gotten them as yet, you know, of course, you know, it's an event for the family and friends. This is what we try to build and encourage in the country. So you can get your tickets at Prem Singh's Puja Bhavan, both in Chagonas and their Curab branches. You can also get your tickets at Anand's Jewelry Palace in C3 Mall in San Fernando. You can also access tickets at MS Food City in Debe, as well as the former Angie's Puja store in Pinal, now known as All-in-One Trading, right? So you can get your tickets there as well. There's an area in Kuva called the Baltazar Restaurant. Also, the Shiv Sangeet School of Music, they have their headquarters is in Pinal. They can also access tickets there. And for those of us who would like to, you know, get any further information, you can call the numbers. I think it's there on your screen, 395-6364 and 335-2155, and you will be most certainly appreciated and guided from there.
Do you all have social media posts for the concert?
Yes, yeah, it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, it's on TikTok, so you all can follow all the various updates and details there.
And of course, the list of where the tickets are available should be there. If you forget watching the show because you're so enraptured by the show, and our guest here with his insight, because I have to say, you know, I always think that art is a bit of a red-headed stepchild in the country. I say art and sport is the red-headed stepchild. It's taken for granted.
Stepchild, middle child.
It's not supported. Right, yeah, one is the middle child, one is the red-headed stepchild. No, with that said, I just have to ask, a project like this, it sounds, in some ways, to some people it might sound ambitious. How proud are you for doing this, for attempting to do this, regardless of the ticket sales? Because I hope if it's not good, I hope it doesn't discourage you. Hopefully it is good, so it would encourage a follow-up. Either way, I would like to see more events like this. How proud are you to do something like this?
In this kind of production, what I would say is that, you know, it's a passion of mine to make sure that we offer quality to the public, right, and to patrons, and to encourage people to get into the arts, to learn music, and go and make others happy that way, right? So I will say that this concert in itself, just in terms of that dimension, it's a step in the direction of offering quality, good music, and to keep that trend going, no matter what.
Right.
That's the whole idea.
For sure. That was great. Dr. Maraj, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks very much for having me. And I want to say again, you know, you all have been really, I've enjoyed the discussion very much, and I hope, you know, everybody out there listening would be interested and come out and support this event, where you are going to get really nice one night of Bollywood music as never done before. It's really a difference that you're going to experience with Shakuntala Jang Bahadur, Nival Chitlal, myself, Narendra Maraj, Abhijit Ankatesu, and so many others, Rishi and the band. Thank you.
Of course. I would just like to personally shout out Abhijit. He's a good friend of mine. But great. It was so lovely to have you. Thank you so much, Trinidad and Tobago. Listen, get your tickets. Get them now, before they sell out.
I wouldn't classify myself as an artist, but as an amateur, I will just say this. That there's a lot of what I want to hear from an artist coming out of this concert. So I understand why artists are excited about this. Yes. And I would encourage, you know, this is something to take the plunge on.
Of course, of course. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. Sean Michael Small, Mark Anthony Peter. Take care. Bye-bye.
Memorized us for years.
And now, in a rare treat for music fans,
Shakuntala and Friends in concert, featuring Shakuntala Jang Bahadur. Singing sensation Deval Chaitlal, brilliant musician Dr. Shivanan Maharaj, master flautist and saxophonist Narendra Maharaj, with music from Shiv Sangeet Orchestra, Shakuntala and Friends in concert.
Shakuntala, Tala.
WESN.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus. Quality you trust. Prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
Simon's Musical Supplies Limited. We are the specialist in